you may be wondering is like was talking about Twitter. She didn't talk about the paid advertising strategy on Twitter that she uses. Now, why is that? Why do people not pay on Twitter but they pay on Facebook? Why is, as a platform, Facebook a platform that people feel they have to pay money for? I suppose I should go back to the beginning, actually. The previous talk, Making asked how many people have been to a party, and only about 60% of the population of the room put their hands up. So can I just check that people know what Facebook is? Will you put up your hand if you know what Facebook is? Good. Now, organic Facebook is where you're using Facebook in a way where you're not paying for it. And it used to work fantastically well. But it's a bit like the way that farming was. It used to be, there was a strategy. You had a Facebook page which people would sign up to, and they would see your posts, and then people would buy things. And that was kind of the way it used to work. And it used to work really, really well. But unfortunately, as the years have gone by, the number of people who see a post from a Facebook page has gone progressively down. And this is why people are saying that Facebook doesn't work if you're not paying for Facebook anymore. And I mean, it's actually terrible if you think about it. You set up a Facebook page as a business, you kind of expect all the people who are your fans to see your posts. But unfortunately, that just doesn't happen. I mean, in 2018, if your post has a link to your website on it, and this is not just kind of randomly on the whole of Facebook, this is people who have signed up as fans of your Facebook page. It can get to the point like 1 or 2% of your Facebook fans will see your posts. So this is why a lot of people have gone to thinking about non-organic methods. They're talking about paid ads. They're giving up on their organic principles and saying, we're going to pay to get our posts in front of people. I mean, you've heard of people talking about the algorithm. So the algorithm is which posts do people see when they sign into Facebook. Now, there are a couple of reasons why you've got the previous issue with reach going down. One was that Facebook have changed, there's many more people on Facebook, people are liking more pages. But another reason is that Facebook makes money from ads. I mean, this is what Zuckerberg said when he was talking to Congress. We make money from ads, Senator. So it's in Facebook's interest to not show your post to people and force you to pay. So this is another reason why people say organic Facebook is dead as a concept. But I say, no. I say, no, there are ways to use Facebook without paying for it. It's like Making wasn't talking about a Twitter page strategy, and yet it's kind of like, well, Twitter's got a lot of people on it. A lot of people don't see everybody's Twitter thing on their Twitter feed. So the way that I've used Facebook, and I gave it a lot of thought when I was creating this talk, because I mainly use Twitter. I'm a Twitter fan. But then I thought about all the opportunities I've got, and a lot of them come from Facebook, but not in this way about posting. So there's kind of a misnomer about the way that social media works, especially with Facebook. People think of Facebook as like a broadcast mechanism where you've got your page, you put a post up there, people click through or do stuff based on what you produce. But there are two other sides of social media, and you've heard a lot today, if you've been in this room at least, about engagement and about various other aspects of social media. There's producing content, there's interacting with content, and there's consuming content. And most of these strategies, which I'm going to go through, are to do with interacting and consuming content rather than producing content. So the first thing we're going to talk about is finding your audience. Now, one of the great problems with Facebook is that it's really hard to find people on Facebook who are your customers, at least in the organic world. So you're there and there's nobody around who seems like you. And it's not like on Twitter where it's totally open. Everything's kind of all closed, and it can be really hard to find potential customers on Facebook. Now, if you go down the toxic paid route, then you can target posts individually to people with specific interests, and this isn't such a big problem. But this is a problem with organic Facebook, which is another reason why people say organic Facebook is dead. However, at least one solution to this is Facebook groups. There are literally Facebook groups about everything. I mean, there are 2 billion people on Facebook. That's kind of like 40% of the population on Earth. And okay, not everybody's using it for business, and this is a bit of an in-joke with me and Andrew and Pete, because I gave them this as a challenge on my podcast to talk about promoting a corrugated iron site. But there is a corrugated iron appreciation society on Facebook. So don't tell me that aren't Facebook groups about your business area. Well, unless you are corrugated iron, in which case we've only got these. Well, I looked at the top one, and it's actually got quite a lot of posts in it. So I'm not into corrugated iron, by the way. So here's a strategy for your business. Find Facebook groups that are relevant to your business area, and then don't go onto them and say, buy my stuff. This is a typical rookie mistake on Facebook. You need to, and people have a go at lurking, but what I say is lurk, listen, and learn. So what do I mean by lurking? Well, a lot of Facebook groups have issues. They're basically, some of them are just fronts for sales groups. Some of them are kind of, there's only one person who's actually on the group. So you need to lurk for a little while just to make sure the group kind of is appropriate to you. And then you can start to listen. So I've done this sort of little picture here. The customer, your customers, are not likely a lot of the time to tell you directly what their issues are. But if you go to a Facebook group, just by listening to what people are talking about, and just going on to Facebook in general, because it's got 2 billion people on it after all, you can find out what your customers' issues are better than anywhere else on social media. So this guy is selling this other guy. He doesn't know that this person wishes he could just buy a smaller packet rather than having to buy this enormous tray all the time. And he can find that out on a Facebook group. And the next stage is learning about that. Now, once you start to be on a Facebook group for longer, you start to be able to build authority. So one way of doing this is if you've got a relevant industry Facebook group, you can answer questions. So people will post, say, what is the best type of corrugated iron? And you will be able to come up with your answer. And gradually, people will begin to appreciate and look at you as an authority. They'll start tagging you in posts saying, Tim, can you talk about this? And that helps you to get to the point where you will eventually be able to start talking about sales. So it's again, we're talking about reputation. Now, another aspect of Facebook that people don't use from an interactive point of view is actually commenting on Facebook Live videos. So you'll hear a lot about people saying use Facebook Live to produce your own videos. What I'm talking about here is a very different thing. It's talking about watching and commenting on industry experts' Facebook Live broadcasts, because people just do not do it. People do not comment on Facebook Live broadcasts. Now, some people may know that I can go a bit bonkers commenting on Facebook Live thing, but the person who's running that show knows who I am. So, for example, and this is a bit marketing-y, but Jay Baer, Chris Brogan, and Joel Calm run a Facebook Live show for only about a couple of months. And I used to watch their live show and comment on it. Then at social media marketing world, I end up on the same table and they say, we know who you are. So this is a kind of underestimated tactic. The trouble is not every industry people are doing live video shows, but if you can find a relevant one by somebody who's really, really big in your industry, an influencer, and you can comment and make sensible suggestions, then if you can, they will firstly know who you are, which is great, and then potentially you end up becoming somebody they may refer business to. So the last part is actually something that's been talked about a lot before. May King mentioned it on Twitter. And as a business strategy, actually this works surprisingly well. I've got an awful lot of work from the referrals. So let's say, yeah, I'm doing there's an in-joke again there. I'm not suggesting at all that anybody is into corrugated iron, like this guy here. But let's just say that you want to be known as a person who does something in a place.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, to be honest, you could know that Pete is really into corrugated iron. And that would be enough, because like, if somebody comes up to me and says, I really want to know about corrugated iron, there's not going to be anybody else in the world who's doing corrugated iron apart from Pete. It's like, well, May King is like a tea expert. Everybody knows May King is a tea expert. But it goes more granular than that. You can say, I am the marketer from Iceland, or I am the person who does manufacturing in London. So you want to be known as somebody on social, but you also want to know people. Because if you refer other people business on social, they're likely to at some point refer you business. And it could even be in exactly the same industry. When I was younger, so a while ago, I used to work as data input person at one of the world's biggest car rental companies, Europcar. And I was amazed when I was entering the data how many deals they did with Avis and Hertz where they couldn't do it themselves and they subcontracted it to a different person. So even if somebody's working in exactly the same industry as you, in exactly the same location, there may be times when there's a job you don't want or you're too busy, you can refer them the business. And social media is a fantastic way to find those people and to be known as the person who does tea in Yugoslavia or whatever. And if you just make a network of connections, and you can get referred business and you can get business referred to you. Now, this is my final slide, because this is a question that people often come to me when I say, you should consume more content and you should engage more. They say, well, that's all great and well, but I'm worried that I'm just going to end up watching cat videos all the time on social media. Or maybe dog videos, or corrugated iron in Pete's phone. So how do we make sure that we don't go to Facebook and we have our whole Facebook feed? Well, one of the ways is you can actually set up direct links on your Chrome browser or whatever browser you use to particular groups specifically. And the same with pages. So rather than going onto the Facebook feed and seeing the cat videos and ending up watching that for 20 minutes, you've got your direct link to the Facebook group that you're interested in. Now, okay, there's going to be some, you could get distracted by the group messages, and it's the same with Facebook pages as well. The second point is to do with notifications. Lots of people just leave the default notifications on all their social apps, and especially Facebook. You don't want Facebook or Twitter to be emailing you anything. You don't want messages popping up on your phone all the time. I basically limit mine to just the little number icon next to the app on my phone. But you'll say, well, then I might forget to ever look at my social apps. Most on the iPhone, it's called notifications, I think, or reminders, sorry. And on Android, there's a whole load of apps for doing this, you schedule your own appointments to say, check this particular group at this particular time, check this particular Twitter list. Well, we're not talking about Twitter here, but it's the same principle. You should be in command of when you check your notifications, not the Facebook, Twitter, and all the other apps, which will just keep bombarding you with random notifications all the time. The last point is video is such an enormous time drain. Unless you're specifically, say, watching a live video to try and get ahead, then really you should be very careful about the videos that you watch. So, I mean, hopefully I've said to you today that you should look again at Facebook. Facebook has 2 billion people on its network. I don't know what the number is for Twitter. Facebook is a fantastic platform that people are missing out on because they're just obsessed with this idea it's all about posts. Another aspect that I thought about after I did these slides, so I'll talk a little bit about that a bit more, is we heard this morning Andrew and Pete were saying that you need to focus 90% of your time on what's working for you. Now, the trouble with Facebook as a platform is that often you won't know because you're not getting any likes on anything. You're getting so you can't know what's working best because, well, you're not getting any likes because of the algorithm. By building up a network of people who are your referral contacts and people who like you on Facebook, on your Facebook profile usually, you can usually have at least 1 or 2 people starting to like your posts. So doing this kind of outreach effort will help with your traditional Facebook because at least you'll be able to see what's working. Otherwise, you could set up your page, you've got 10 followers and nobody likes anything, so you don't know what's working, what's not working. But if you build up a network of people, then those people can then help you to actually get to the point where you can work out if this is a 90% thing in your situation. So anyway, I'm going to take a lot of questions, I suspect, or maybe none, in which case I can go and sit and drink for a while. So here are all my details.
So, do we have any questions?
I hope so.
Okay, we have questions over there. I will try to run through it here. The microphone, that's working, which is lovely.
Hi, what are your thoughts on business pages versus groups for business on Facebook? Both, one or the other?
I would say groups. Depends what you're trying to do. I mean, if you're in an industry where there aren't any decent live broadcasts, then using a page is a good idea. But if not, then groups are a lot. But you've still got to get people into the group. So, but yeah, at the moment, groups are the way that Facebook is going. Though, usually there's a pattern with the way that Facebook releases stuff. So, all that happen is it will work really, really well, like pages used to work really well. Live video used to work really, really well. Groups at the moment are working really, really well. But it's possibly only a matter of time before Facebook start charging for groups. To run a group, that is, not to actually be in a group. And they've also got no real advertising in at the moment. So, yes, I think at the moment groups are the way to go, but be aware that Facebook may start charging for that soon, because they can make money anyway. They are a money-making machine. They see businesses making money, they'll try and take their share of it from you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I see a hand over here.
Hiya. Did you say that if you put a post with a link into your website, it doesn't go anywhere?
Yeah, well, generally speaking, nobody knows for certain what the algorithm is, but I've experienced this. I was looking at my own stats. If you put a link to an external website in a Facebook post, its reach is considerably lower than just a post without those links. And it's also alleged, I had Holly Homer on my podcast, who was kind of, at that point, the world expert in organic Facebook. doing it. She reckoned that depending on, Facebook's got its own domain authority for websites. So if you're linking to something like BuzzFeed, your post will get more reach than if it's your own website that nobody's heard of. So there is an amount of difference in reach depending on what website you're connecting to, but it lowers it because Facebook wants to keep you on the platform. So, but even if you just do a video or something, you're probably going to get 10% reach at most.
Brilliant. Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, fab.
Hiya, Tim. Is it still worth paying? Simple question.
Yes, but it depends. I think if you've just given up on organic Facebook and you're just paying, you're up against an awful lot of very, very talented people. I mean, talking about my podcast, which is actually about self-publishing, but I've had a lot of social media people on. I interview a guy called Asriel Ratz, who's one of the world's authorities on Facebook advertising. And I think he basically said, unless you're spending at least $1,000 a month, you're not really going to see an awful lot. It's very hard to make Facebook adverts work. Now, there are fantastic targeting options on Facebook adverts, which may be appropriate. And you can do things like target engagement audiences, so people who actually engage with your posts. So there are edge cases where Facebook advertising can be really effective, but it's like, do you want to be one of these nasty people who sprays pesticides all over his Facebook post? That's the question.
Brilliant. Thank you. Another question over here.
I just wondered if you had any opinion about Facebook shops.
No. I don't know anything about Facebook shops, so I have to say.
Okay, it's just something you can set up, but I wasn't sure whether it's going to be worth. I didn't feel that it was going to be worth the time.
Yeah.
I didn't imagine I'd get a lot of traction, but.
Well, I mean, what you might want to consider, again, I'm going off platform here, but you can set up Instagram. You can set up shopping links on Instagram if you've got a Facebook shop set up. And that's quite cool because then you can just click on a Instagram post and buy something. So it's possibly worth looking into, but I don't know if you use a platform like Shopify or something like that.
Yeah, I have a website, I have an e-commerce website.
Yeah.
So I can link Instagram to that or Shopify.
Yeah, so I'd say maybe set it up for Facebook, but with a mind to do on Instagram, because I like the idea of, I know lots of people who buy stuff on Instagram. I've never even seen a shoppable link on Instagram, but I know that people do it.
Okay, one last question. Anyone want to know more about organic Facebook? No? You know everything about organic Facebook? Good talk.
I was just wondering about the events part of Facebook.
Yeah.
If you have any ideas on better utilising that, or if there's a way of making events better noticed.
Events can be useful. It's not something I've used massively myself in any shape or form. Because I don't have an event, it's kind of... I'm not going to say I have no opinion. I think if it's appropriate to have an event, then certainly an event is good, because you do get notifications. But again, I'm not sure that may be affected by the algorithm. One of the weird factors of Facebook is the algorithm isn't just on the posts, it's also on the notifications as well. So you will not see every notification if you do an awful lot of activity. I know this because I'm the sort of mad guy who comments on the post 7,000 times, and I'm like, why didn't see a notification for that? So I don't know with events how they are, if everybody in the event will be notified of it. I think the events generally have better reach than other posts, but I don't know the details, to be fair. So that was a really crappy answer, I'm sorry, but yeah.
It's perfect. Thank you very much. Can we please give a huge round of applause to Tim?
Thank you.